Yo, what is up guys? John here. Today we're going to be going over a build for the Scout utilizing the newest grenade, the Voltaic Stun Sweeper. And I love this thing. It's great. I don't know if it's bugged currently. It does say that it will come back to you. And I talk about this a little bit more, but it does not come back to you in the way that it's regenerating ammo or anything like that. That could be intended, which makes sense if it's intended because it would just kind of have an infinite value. But currently, it's not going to come back to you when you use it. But I would still say the TLDR for this is a pretty good little grenade. It's interesting. Scout really has the best grenades in the game, I'd say. It's pretty undisputed in my opinion, but again, that's just my opinion. And so really him having a new grenade wasn't exactly something that he needed for his kit as much as he needed a new primary, let's say, or a new secondary, you know, months ago. But now we're here, we have a new grenade, and I wanted to make a build utilizing it, and I hope you enjoy it. And please leave a like and subscribe if you're interested in deep rock content, because I'm going to be trying to make a new video and class guide for each of the dwarves with their new grenades. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy it. Peace out. So this is what you're going to be running for the boomerang boy that we got loaded up here. So obviously the first thing is you're going to be using the new grenade, the Voltaic Stun Sweeper. This thing's pretty good. It's weird. It says it returns to its owner, but that doesn't mean that you get it back. So you'll see multiple times through the gameplay that it comes back to me. It doesn't give you an extra one. So if I throw this, so you start with 8, it says carry amount. You throw 1 and it comes back to you. Yes, that's cool. You actually get to see it come back. That doesn't mean you go from 8, throw 1, you go to 7, and it goes back to 8 when it comes back to you. So I just want to make that clear. This is not like an infinitely usable grenade. Now, as far as like meta and like how good this is, I would say that this is a more versatile version of the IFG. Now, really only because the IFG also slows and has another inhibitor. This has some other utility to it. The thing about the Scout is every single one of his grenades are incredibly strong. He debatably has the strongest grenades in the game. And yeah, so this was a pretty hard thing for them to add, and I think that the Stun Sweeper is a really cool addition, and I think that you guys are going to really enjoy this build and how it plays. So there's that. Now obviously just go over the simple things like the grappling hook. The grappling hook, it's up to you. I have never bought anything else for the grappling hook because personally this is how I like to use it. I like to have the best speed time as far as charge, because I think that it's really important to be able to get out of those sticky situations easier. It's not that important to me to have that extra momentum or that extra reach for it. I think that 25 meters is plenty long enough. The flare gun again is another thing that personally to me, ammo matters more than anything. The way that I play with the flare gun is I just kind of look around the cave, shoot off a mag, and then swap to another weapon. Then we go to perks. Now, these are kind of preference, but I believe that these are definitely the best you can run. So deep pockets, you're going to be able to hold 15 more of anything like gold, nitro, all that stuff. The reason I like this, and I really only run it on Scout, is because your main objective as a Scout, no matter what build you're playing, is going to be to collect things like that nitro, like that gold, and this allows you to get those big nitro veins without having to, you know, constantly go up there, come back, go up, come back. You can go up there and get that stuff and then come back, and then it's a one and done trip. That's really awesome. Resupplier, making you get 50%, well, 25% more health, instantly reloading your weapons, and then a heal and getting ammo 50% faster. The 50% faster is the big key here. The Resupplier is probably something on all builds that you're going to want to take. This is probably the best passive perk in the game, if not one of the best passive perks in the game. Extremely good. Try to get this maxed out as fast as you can because, again, it's amazing. Resupplier works great hand in hand with Iron Will, which I'm about to go over as well. So yeah, Resupplier, amazing perk. Born Ready. Unequipped weapons automatically reload after 5 seconds. So this is really good, and I'm going to explain why in a second, but I do believe that if there was any of these 3 passive perks that you could swap out for something else, it would be this third tier. Personally, I like... The other perk that I like is Veteran Depositor. It's okay, but half of it's not useful for you. Obviously, being able to deposit 50% faster, really nice, but 30% damage reduction when you're within 7 meters of the mule is not usually great, typically because as a Scout, you're going to be far away from the mule. You're not going to have that opportunity to do that. I like Sweet Tooth a lot. I think Sweet Tooth on Scout is great because you can always get to the spots where you can get that sweet sugar. I don't know why I always call it sweet sugar, but red sugar. And then the other two, which you can kind of decide between, is Unstoppable, where environmental slowdown effects are reduced by 50%, and you move 25% faster while carrying heavy objects, and Strong Arm. Now, I'm going to say I think I prefer Unstoppable just because right now with the new Lithophage stuff, the weapons that you're picking up with those are considered heavy objects. So you're going to be able to move 25% faster while using the Lithophage items, which is great. And I want to go over what the Lithophage items are probably in another video, just to kind of explain it for those of you who don't know. So be on the lookout for that. Should be releasing soon as well. If not, later on today. But yeah, so Unstoppable, between Unstoppable and Strong Arm, I do think Unstoppable's a little bit better. And then another thing would be Thorns. Thorns is okay. This has an internal cooldown. So for those of you who don't know, you can't just run Thorns and then expect every single swarmer that runs at you to die instantly. This actually has, I think, about a second or close to a second cooldown. So if something hits you, there's a second before it's going to proc again. So if a lot of swarmers hit you at the same time, it's only going to deal damage to one of them. So Thorns is okay, but this build is really centered around doing a lot of damage to small enemies and doing it really quickly and easily. So Thorns, I personally don't believe we need. Born Ready, I really like because this allows us to shoot the Drac. The Drac doesn't need a reload, but it does have a cooldown. And you're going to see the way that I play with it is I shoot it to the point where it becomes close to overheating, and then I swap to the Bolt Shark, shoot the Bolt Shark, and then I swap back to the Drac. The Drac will already be cooling down. You can shoot the Drac again, and then the Bolt Shark will be reloaded by the time you swap back to it. So this really keeps your DPS up. So then we're going to go over the Drac, because ultimately you're going to be able to decide between the Drac and the Deep Core. Now, if you don't have the Drac unlocked or you don't have the right overclocks, what I would say is the Deep Core is an okay weapon. I don't mind it, but ever since the Drac's launched, the Drac has completely dominated it, in my opinion. I think it's a much better weapon. If you're going to run the Deep Core, run it with Bullets of Mercy, dealing significantly more damage to targets that are burning, stunned, electrocuted, frozen, or poisoned, etc. People that have effects on them. But it has a decreased magazine capacity. Not a big deal, but we're going to go over the Drac, and because that's what I believe will make this build work the best. So for the Drac, the overclock that you're going to want to go for is Impact Deflection. For the Drac, I'd say this is the best overclock. If you don't have Impact Deflection, this is always a good one. Thermal Liquid Coolant, it's a clean overclock, it's great. Aggressive Venting, it's whatever. You're not trying to overheat, so really there's no point in using Aggressive Venting. You're either going to want to go with Thermal Liquid Coolant or Impact Deflection. There's really nothing else that you're going to want to use here. No reason for anything else. This build is very ammo efficient and everything like that. And what you're going to want to run with the Drac is High Volume Plasma Feed for a higher rate of fire, because this is actually going to slow your rate of fire. So this is going to make up for that. Increased particle density for more damage, because 750 battery capacity, which is the ammo, it's already a lot for the Drac. That's already a lot. And it works really well. Then for the third, we're going to go with the Gen 2 cooling system. This is going to allow you to shed heat faster. Like I said, this is the part that allows you to nearly overheat the gun, swap to another weapon, and then by the time you swap back to the Drac, it'll be cooled off just right away. I think Gen 2 cooling is a must. Third is going to be Overcharged PCF. This is going to make it so that projectiles carry excess distributed charge, so that it will actually electrify shots. So I think it's like it's a 20% chance. I think it used to be like a 33% chance, but really 20% chance to electrocute on hit with this fire rate and everything else is huge. Electrocuted targets take damage over time, they're slowed, and it's going to play into other parts of this build. So being able to electrify your targets is really huge. And then Thermal Feedback Loop for the final Tier 5 upgrade for the Drac. This is just making it so that once you surpass 50% heat on the Drac, the fire rate increases dramatically. And once you get used to using this weapon, you're going to be able to really maximize the DPS and understand how far you can push it to get that out of it. And this is just really powerful. And Impact Deflection, very simple. Slower rate of fire, and projectiles are bouncy. So again, in the gameplay, you're going to see that the projectiles are going to bounce off each other. This is going to help you with that wave clear and being able to deal with hordes as a scout, because normally a scout's not that great and well equipped for dealing with huge groups of enemies. So this is for the Drac. For the Bolt Shark, For the Bolt Shark, some of this is a little bit a preference, but to me, this is what I think works the best for this. Bodkin bolts. Bodkin bolts are nuts, in my opinion. Bolts penetrate and ricochet off enemies. Less direct damage and a longer reload time. Now, the longer reload time we can offset by an upgrade. And the less direct damage we also can offset by another upgrade. And it really doesn't feel like that much as far as the less direct damage. I don't notice it at all. You're still going to be one-shotting grunts if you hit them in the face, because they're always going to be running at you. And not to mention, you're going to deal some extra bonus damage because you have bonus damage versus electrified enemies. If you can see that down there in the bottom right, you're getting a 25% boost to that. And just so you know, the Voltaic Stun Sweeper stuns and electrifies enemies. So this is really, really, really good with that. So first upgrade, we're going to use the Special Bolt Pheromone. The reason that I use this is because the other two, this one, Special Bolt Chemical Explosion, I'm not a big fan of it. It's not really, it doesn't work the way that you would think it does, or that you'd like it to, I'd say. The Chemical Explosion's not the best thing, in my opinion. And the Special Bolt Taser is a really cool special bolt, but it's not great for this kind of build. It's really good for a niche build for the Scout, a niche playstyle. It's not good for this. I love Pheromone because this allows you to... The biggest problem you're going to run into with this build on the Scout are the bigger enemies, the Praetorians and the Dreadnoughts, things like that. So you're going to hit them with a Special Bolt, run off while the enemies attack them, or hit them with a Special Bolt and kind of ignore them and let the other enemies take care of them while you're shooting the regular mobs. So Special Bolt is huge here. Broad-headed bolts, just for more damage. There's no reason to really carry more special ammo. 9 shots is plenty. Again, this is a build where I never really run out of ammo. If I run out of ammo in the Drac, I've got plenty in the Ninshanka, the Bolt Shark, aka. And that's just that. So I never really run out of ammo. I'm not going to go for an ammo upgrade. More reload speed because we are getting that longer reload time from the Bodkin bolts overclock. So you're going to want that. These two. This is kind of where the preference comes in. To me, this Battle Frenzy, move faster after killing an enemy. Like I said, every time you fire this thing, you're going to kill enemies. And this is nuts. You're always going to be proccing this when you use the Bolt Shark, and this is okay. But I feel like in the heat of things, you're not going to be able to track where you shot or where it lands. I don't find myself using this a whole lot. Battle Frenzy is definitely the way to go in my opinion. And for the final tier, we're going to go with the Magnetic Shafts, which is what allows us to get bonus damage versus the electrically affected. Oh, it's weird. We don't need potent special bolts because, again, we're not running something like the electric taser field. We don't need that. Maybe that's for another build. That would be really cool. And we don't need the fear module. This is just going to make us the damage that we get a lot higher with the Bolt Shark. And overall, that's what I prefer. Going over the Pickaxe, this is, again, mostly preference, but for me, I like to have the better weight balance upgrade just so I can have more cooldown or less cooldown on the power attack, because oftentimes when you're playing Scout, sometimes when you're mining things, you actually like to power attack things like gold. So instead of sitting there swinging on it 3 times, you just hit it once, or some of the other minerals in the game. So I like to have the Pickaxe on a lower cooldown. The armor rig, again, mostly preference, but I put static discharge on here so that we can get a little bit more electric out of our kit. You don't have to do that, and this is just going to give you even more deeper pockets. So now we have 5 to our carrying capacity, which is great. So overall, this is what your build's going to look like, and ideally what you're going to want to go for. If you don't have these overclocks unlocked, I guess you could go for something like Quickfire, or, you know, I don't know, the Specialist isn't great. I'm really not a big fan of Trifork Valley. Bodkin bolts and Quickfire would be what you want to go for if you're newer to the game and you're trying to kind of work towards getting all these overclocks. It's weird talking about things like this from my perspective because I've played so much Deep Rock and I have all these overclocks, but I get it. When you're starting the game out, you don't have everything, and it's a lot that you have to work towards. I will say this: if you're a newer player and you're thinking about, oh, should I get cosmetic or, you know, the weapon overclocks, guys, pick the weapon overclocks every single time until you have every single weapon overclock in the game before you even worry about cosmetic overclocks. Trust me, it's going to make you have a lot more fun playing the game. So let's just jump into the gameplay and show you kind of how this build's going to work in-game. One more thing I forgot to mention, guys, was the active perks. So Iron Will is going to be what you're going to want to run Again, this is kind of meta, quote unquote. Iron Will is definitely, I would say, undisputably the best perk in the game, and I think everybody should run this perk. I do think that the Deep Rock devs should take a look at the perks, maybe introduce some more perks, rework some more perks. I personally think the best way to nerf something is to make everything stronger. So if we would buff other perks to make them more viable, that would help out. But for now, we're definitely going to be running Iron Will on Scout. It's probably the most versatile tool your team has at their disposal. Remember guys, this gameplay is recorded in Hazard 5, which is the hardest difficulty in the normal modes aside from the deep dives. And you could easily take this build into the deep dives, whether it's the regular deep dive or the deep dive elite. Now, regular deep dives, I want to mention, are actually easier than Hazard 5. They're somewhere rated about Hazard 4.5. Hazard 5 is Hazard 5, and then Deep Dive Elites are basically rated as like a 5.5 level. So they are the hardest version of Deep Rock Galactic without mods. Next up, we're going to be leaving or using Field Medic. So obviously you're going to be reviving people 30% faster passively, which is just insane that you get such a good passive perk, which just is great in itself. But then your active is, once per mission, you can instantly res somebody. Just great. And then upon reviving anyone, nearby enemies just flee. So great perk. Definitely two perks that you're going to want to use as much as possible. But yeah guys, that's it for those perks. So guys, I just want to go over some of the gameplay and everything like that. So basically what you want to do with this build, and you're going to see this multiple times throughout me playing, is you're going to want to throw the boomerang. That's going to basically ignite the enemies with that electrification. So that's going to proc the electrocution, so therefore you're doing more damage with your botkin arrows and everything like that. So usually what I'll do is I'll throw a boomerang out and then I'll immediately follow it up with an arrow shot. Okay, a lot of the times the electrified bonus that the Drac is giving is really just a boost to its specific DPS. You're not really trying to electrify enemies with the Drac. What you're going for is an electrification, oh my gosh, an electrification with your boomerang. That's what you're going for. And you're also going to see in this gameplay that the boomerang is also really good in the utility that it will stun creatures for quite some time. Unfortunately, you will see that I do go down to a slasher, kind of like a rogue attack here, but it is very interesting. It's a pretty good grenade, and you know, overall my thoughts on it are, I think it's a welcome addition, and it's definitely a lot better than I thought it was going to be on the Scout. Do I think that over time it's going to be seen as the best, you know, be-all, end-all grenade for the Scout? No, not necessarily. I do think that in these vertical maps, especially one like this, where there's just this giant chasm, this giant hole, the boomerang is so much better than the IFG. The IFG does stick to the walls and surfaces and ceilings, but it's a lot harder to aim, it's harder to use. And it debatably has less AoE, although it does last quite a while, and it does take up some space. So, you know, really the question comes down to how much are you, willing to use, and what are you trying to use? I think the IFG does have more utility. The boomerang is a little bit more selfish, but if you're running a build like this where you're really utilizing all the electrocution damage that you can get out of your kits, this is going to play a lot of, a really big role. You're also going to see in the gameplay that I use pheromone bolts on a bulk detonator and sometimes these Praetorians. Like I was saying, this really draws a lot of aggro and stops the horde from immediately coming to you, and it does slow down the bigger enemies because they're getting, attached and shot by a lot of their own guys. So you really have to be understanding of what is a big threat to your team and how to draw it away from you guys, and so that way that you can create distance. But really guys, that's it. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time digging into the gameplay because I feel like when you talk about Scout's gameplay, it's pretty basic. What you really want to do is kite enemies as best you can. Avoid being stuck in these tunnels. You know, when you see me go down, it's because I'm stuck in a tunnel like a dummy, and I'm not using the full travel distance or as much of a travel distance with my grappling hook. Realistically, if you're in an open cave, there's no reason that you should be going down as a Scout. You should be able to grapple and give yourself an out at every single moment and opportunity. There shouldn't really be a lot of times where you're going down as a Scout, unless it's something that really shocks you or surprises you. You really have this saving grace with the grappling hook. And so, yeah, the basic gameplay is grappling hook, do your full cycle of damage, grappling hook, and then everything should be reset, and you should keep being able to cycle your damage. And this is how you save ammo. You get away from the enemies, you kite them around and let them take that damage over time from the electrification? I'm sorry, guys. It's 2 p.m. I worked until 5 a.m. from like 7 p.m. yesterday. I stayed up and wanted to play this update, make a video, and I've been here editing it. This is a video that I'm pretty proud of. I put a lot of time into this. So please, guys, if you do remotely enjoy this or are looking forward to some more Deep Rock builds and videos, please give a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 50 by Christmas time / December. I'll take it by the end of December if we can hit 50. We're not that far off. It's only 6 subs. Please, guys, I appreciate it so much. Thank you, and have a nice day.